Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As I always say, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so very much for all of the support, all of the messages, all of the positive things you've sent the show's way, all the questions that you've asked, all the things that you wanted to have conversations with me about. Can't tell you how happy I am to have those conversations with you guys. So keep those conversations coming, keep those messages coming, and I look forward to hearing from you. As I just said to my guest before we start recording, I'm hoping that this episode kind of serves you as a listener as that little, energy boost maybe, or that little extra bit of motivation as you listen to it to, get you a little bit fired up afterwards for coaching and whatever you got going on your day, because we're going to talk about putting in energy, putting in effort into your program, and really pouring that right type of energy and that right type of effort into your program, as well as also getting that same energy and getting that same effort out of your players as well. So I know a lot of you who are listeners, probably all of you who are listeners, love, having that high energy, high effort guys and girls giving everything they got, coaches giving everything they give and got. So that's what we're going to get into today with my guest. So we're going to jump right into it with my guest today. He is now the head coach of Maple Heights High School out in the Cleveland area. Very happy to be joined by Coach Rob Yates today. Coach, again, appreciate you being on here today. How we doing?
I'm great, Coach. How are you?
Quite well, quite well. Really looking forward to hearing about you, your program, your story, and everything. So let's jump right into it, Coach. I know you told me a little bit before we started, so I hope you don't mind repeating yourself a little bit, but talk to us about this great game of basketball and where your journey has taken you and your coaching journey has taken you, and ultimately, how'd you end up at Maple Heights?
Well, it's a bit of a different situation. I think that, as I explained to you before, my rise to this coaching position was faster than I've ever. For years ago, I was a man. I was an official first, and one of my friends introduced me to coaching. He said, "Hey, I think that you'd be a great fit for my freshman team." And I said, "Oh man, I don't know. I've been reffing for a while. I kind of like what I'm doing. I don't know if that's something that I'm ready to do." But he stayed on me. We talked and and next thing I know, I'm there. I told him yes, and I'll never forget it. My first practice, he said, "Man, are you sure you haven't done this before?" Because I came prepared. I had my practice plan. I had the things that I wanted to get done. And it was just a great situation. So hit the ground running there and took off. It was a situation, like I said, there that was smaller school, probably about maybe 500 kids in the school in total. So team wasn't that good. Team wasn't, that big. They had issues with even getting a freshman team together before. So I really was just adamant about getting the team together. And that's when I think that the whole energy and effort thing started for me, because they weren't interested. It was just something to do. It was almost as if it were, but it wasn't. It was, it was a team, and I had to come into the door with that energy and that effort, and just knowing what that would look like. And that was to get those guys excited about, their new freshman coach, excited about, having the opportunity to play a game under somebody who really cared and was wanting to push them. But, I was honest. I told them, I said, this is my first job. I was an official, and some of them it was funny because some of them had seen me before in middle school games and in rec league or summer league games officiating. Yeah, right. So that was a bit of a different situation. But, after that, had a great first year, right? And I knew that this was the thing that I wanted to do. I knew that this was for me. Had a great year. We ended up winning about 10 games. Freshmen, we don't play as many games as the varsity level. We only had about 17 games that year. So we went 10-7. And, it was an experience. It was an experience like unlike any other. I keep saying that because everything was new to me at that time. I had a point guard that had just lost his mom, and that that made me approach the game a little bit differently, because I was, a little more. I put kid gloves on, if you will. I was a little more adamant about being gentle with them and making sure that I was there to support them more than just coaching X's and O's. And I think that's another thing about the effort. I could have just gone in that day and said, rolled out the balls, said, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let's hop right into drills. But it wasn't that. It was more of understanding the kids and, getting to know them on a deeper level. So that was where my effort at that point was, really pushed into. It was just a different situation. It's like I said, it was in the middle of the inner city. A lot of kids had a lot of different issues. Some kids didn't eat before they came to school. You know what I mean? It was one of those type of jobs. So after that year, I knew, like I said, this it really confirmed it for me that this is something that I wanted to do. So I'll never forget. I saw, as most coaches do, when you get into this thing, you get excited and you start looking towards the future. But they have the online listing of job openings, and all coaches search just to look. And I was telling my coach, I said, I think that I'm ready. And he said, no, man, you're not ready for the varsity level there. He said, you're good, but just hold on. I said, Coach, I think I'm ready, man. And just being a little bit crazy, So what did I do? I went on the listing of OSHA and saw a school called Padua Franciscan, and they had an opening for a head coaching position. So just once again, being crazy, I got my resume together, put on that I won a few games here my freshman year. We had a great time. Plus that with my professional resume, I thought that this was something, hey, this AD is going to look at that and he's going to love it. So I sent my information over, and the AD actually responded. He said, hey, sorry, we're not looking for a head coach. We're looking for an assistant. It was a typo. So I said, oh, wow. Okay. Well, I said, you know what? I still want to take the interview. I went back to my head coach and I said, it was a mistake, but they still want to interview. He said, so this is what I'll tell you. He said, preparation. This will give you the opportunity to, when you are ready, you'll have interviewed, you'll have gone through those questions. You'll see what it's like. And that way you'll be more prepared for the next time when it's really a head coaching job. I said, all right, let's do it. I told him, I probably won't leave, but I'll just take the interview. He goes, oh, you better not. So I'll never forget. I went to go take the interview, and me and the head coach hit it off. It was a great interview. It was a private school. It was on the west side of Cleveland, bigger school, just a little more refined, if you will, in what they wanted and their ideas on what their expectations were, if you will. Right. I came back to Shaw and I told coach, I said, hey, coach, I think I'm going to take the job. It's not a freshman job. It's a lead varsity assistant. I'm his associate head coach, and, I think I want to do this. And he was a bit upset. I'll never forget. We didn't talk for months after, but he told me, he said, moved on. He said, I'm mad because I lost such a great, and I was mad because I lost, really helped my program. And, that was tough for me, leaving those kids. Like I said, the one that had lost his mom, ended up taking him with me to the school. I got him to transfer, got him into the private school, and introduced him to the city head coach. And he's a senior there now. But yeah, great situation. So I did a year there, and being advantageous, went back on that website and saw their job listing, just because, like I said, my goal was to be a head coach and continue to try to interview for those things. So didn't get anything that next year. I was all prepared to go back to Padua for my second year, and the head coach from Shaw actually ended up getting another job at another high school called Orange High School. And my phone rang, and like I said, we hadn't talked for months. We had, just pleasantries, seeing each other in different gyms, and different things. And he called the phone and he said, Coach, I have a crazy idea, man. He said, let's get the band back together. And he says, I just got another job a different type of situation. It's an even bigger school. You know, it's in Orange, Ohio. He says, man, I wouldn't want to start this thing with feeling not feeling bad that I had left him. Other head coach, and I said, hey, listen, this is, you know, something that is going to be hard. You guys are at your great hands. I've learned a lot this year, and I think that you're good to go. You really don't need me where he needs me. And the other coach, his name is Brian Ansberry. He understood. And you know, Coach Marvin Rashad, that was the coach that had just gotten the new job. He said go back with him, and you know, so went back there, was the JV head coach, and again associate head coach, lead varsity assistant. Did a great job there, and lo and behold, here comes the next summer. I was applying for jobs again, just wanting to be a head coach, wanting to get the job, wanting to get the time to interview. And hey, man, you don't want to sit still, but it was never wanting to leave. It was just wanting to try to get those interviews. Like, you know, he initially told me and said, this is the way that you prepare. You interview, you learn how this thing goes, and you never know what happens. So I interviewed for a job and I got turned down. They told me no. School told me no. They said, no, we have a guy that we loved your interview. Everything was prepared. Everything was great. We feel like you'll be a great coach one day, but just for us. So kind of hurt me to hear that, even though I had a job already. But I went back to Orange, and I told Coach, I said, hey, this isn't the time. You know, I'm stuck here, and this is where I want to be. I don't look at it as being stuck. I look at it as this is the right timing. So we got to going over the summer, and we're working, and my phone rings, and it's the athletic director for Maple Heights. Before I even applied, you know, they told me, said, hey, your name is, we've seen you in different situations. We've got the opportunity to watch from afar, and the things that you're doing are great. We've asked other people about you, and we're interested. Your name is kind of on our list. And I was shocked. So, you know, I said, you know, by all means, you know, here, I'm going to come to the interview. Let's set it up. And that was probably the hardest conversation I had with Coach Rashad, because this is going to be my second time interviewing for another job. Yes, and it hurt. It really hurt. So I went on the interview, and he says, oh, man, you know, I'm all for you, Coach. Go ahead and take that interview, man. You need the prep work. So I went and did the interview, and I got the job. They called me back 2 hours later after that day, after they, you know, checked my references, and he was one of them. He actually called me, and he was the one that told me, he says, Coach, I think you're going to get this job. I said, really? What made you? I was just doing it for the interview. What made you think that? He said, the questions they were asking, they were really serious about you. And he says, you know, I told them everything that I could, that, you know, how great you were, you know, as an assistant, and just that you were prepared, and they would be crazy not to hire you. And he says, I think you're going to get that job, as much as it hurts. So, like I said, about a few hours later, the superintendent called and told me, you know, I had the job, and they were excited to bring me on. So it was another, like I said, tough conversation with him. Here I am leaving after a second opportunity that he had given me, but it was just my time. So
you knew, yeah. You knew that you wanted that job, and it worked out. And no, that's fantastic, and it's a kind of pretty awesome tale of persistence as well, and always keeping focused on, you know, focus completely on what it is that you're doing at the moment, but then also, you know, when the time's there, to focus on what your goals are, and pursuing the things that you want to pursue. So no, that's awesome, Coach. One of the things I know
absolutely.
you talked to me about was one of the experiences that you've had with being as a coach and working as a USA Basketball's Gold Camp. And I know that that's something that's a real great experience. I know some of my listeners may not know exactly what that entails or what it is that you got out of it. So wanted you to talk about what that experience was like for you, and how meaningful was it, and what did you get out of being in that situation?
USA Gold Camp. That's once again me being a tad bit crazy and just going out on the limb. That's one thing that I don't have is fear. I don't believe in it. I went to a USA basketball camp during the summer after my first year at Padua. Went to This was before, I knew that I was transferring to Orange. Like I was just trying to sharpen my skills, as coaches do. You go to coaches clinic to learn things. And this was one of the best clinics that you could ever go to. It's a gold camp. No, it's a gold coaches camp actually. And so I went to the camp, and I'm just a go-getter, if you will. Don Showalter is the head of USA basketball for the youth division, and he's the one that puts these camps on. They had, several Division I coaches, several high-level high school coaches come in and, give you just ideas and tips and things about how they go about their job and their day. So here I am. I'm learning different things, and one of my mentors, one of the guys that I look up to, Daniel Robinson. He's the head coach of Cleveland State. He was one of the presenters. So he had given his portion of the camp, of the coaches camp or clinic, if you will. And I remember it was a lunch break, and I went up to coach, and I just shook his hand and I said, "Hey man, I know this is far fetched, but thank you. I heard you. I had actually heard him on the radio before, and he just talked about being a connected team, and he continued that in the coaches clinic. So I knew that he was serious about it. I just really had to tell him this was something that I took to my younger guys, and even at the D1 level, if I could get my younger guys to believe into what they were doing at the D1 level, and that being connected, I think that I won. So we shook hands, and Don Showalter was in the back, and I said, a beginner's coach, and but this is great. Thank you for the opportunity. And he said, "Coach, don't ever say just." He said, "Things that you're doing are great." And he just said, "It's something about you. I like your energy." And I said, "Oh, well, I appreciate it." And we exchanged phone numbers. He said, "If you ever need anything, just give me a call." I said, "All right, cool." I went back home after that weekend camp, and was excited, refreshed. I talked to my head coach at the time, who was Brian Ansbury at Padua, and he says, "Hey man, I've done some camps with Coach Show. It's called Snow Valley." He says, "If you're interested, I'll introduce you." I said, "Well, I got his number." He laughed, and I said, "But yeah, sure, put me on. Let me do this." So, got me introduced. We had another conversation, and I didn't get to work the Snow Valley camp that year. Some things happened, and I moved on and didn't get to do it, but I kept in contact with Coach Show. So, um, the internet is a great tool. I remember I saw a listing for coaches at Gold Camp that wanted to work Gold Camp, if you will. And it was like, if anyone's interested, send in your resume. We're looking for coaches to handle our Gold Camp. So I said, screw it, why not? This is one of those situations, like I'm that type of guy. So I sent my resume, and I sent a text to Coach Show, and I said, "Hey, Coach Show, I applied to be a Gold Camp coach," and he remembered. So we interviewed a couple of times just on the phone and talked, and he gave me the opportunity. Going in, was that was an experience. The other, once again, I know I keep saying that, but everything is new to me at this time. So that level, being around that level of coaching, I had never seen anything like that. These coaches were teaching me things, and I think that these kids were prepared. It was amazing. So the only thing that I could bring, I said, my knowledge is not, even though I study the game like crazy and I feel like I'm a great coach, I know a lot about the game. I didn't know as much as these guys, and was never going to try to act like I did. So all that I could do was, be the battery in these kids' back. You know what I mean? I was the one to get them going and make sure that they were going to give their utmost. Like one of the kids. So just my voice, just my like I said, again, attention to detail. I'm studying the drills like they were. So we're learning these things together. And it was just crazy, you know? So Coach Show pulled me to the side after, you know, the first day of camp, because I got to do the girls camp and the boys camp. And he said, Coach, you know, everybody notices, you're crazy, man. He says, but it's a good crazy. You know, you're running around, you're loud, you're screaming, you got the kids fired up. He says, don't ever lose that. You know, this is something that you have to hold on to, because that's special. Not too many people have that. So, just continued on, kept working, kept pushing. And like I said, those kids, by the end of that camp, we were taking pictures, and, you know, we wrote out our little evaluations of the teams that we had. And all the kids told me, they said, you know, Coach, we loved your energy. We just love what you brought. And it was always fun. You know, there was never a dull moment in being with you during the camp. So just took that, and like I said, continued to manifest, because I knew that was my calling. That was my kind of calling card, if you will, just making sure that I'm that guy that gets these guys going. Because, you know, I think that I heard it actually on your podcast, one of the coaches, I don't remember the name, but they said it's kids don't have a bad practice, coaches do. And if you allow your kids to have a bad practice, that's because you're having a bad practice. It's your job to, you know, get them going, have them energized, have them prepared, and have them ready. So I kind of took that to heart, and, you know, that's how I've approached every day.
So to take that then, Coach, that energy and that effort that you just were talking about, talk about what does that now look like in terms of how you're bringing that energy and effort now at Maple Heights. So how do you kind of, through your own uh effort, how do you kind of show your guys this is the energy and effort that's required to be successful and be a player for the Maple Heights program?
I think that it entails everything. Energy and effort can cover all facets of this game, and it's even the details. And that means putting energy towards preparing your practice plans, putting energy towards making sure the gym is open for the guys, putting energy and effort towards making sure that, you know, if it's me as a head coach, sweeping the floor. You know, these are the things that I do just to make sure that my guys have the best experience every day. And I think that's where it starts. You know, I don't do anything halfway, and my kids know that. And that's, like I said, from having my practice plans together, and knowing what it is that we need to attack that day, and what it is that we need to do to get better, you know, that day. I'm prepared, and that's where my energy is even focused before we walk into the gym. So by the time they get here, you know, the music is going. You know, I'm loud, and we have a saying here. We do our clap, we do our breakdown after we do our dynamic stretching. And I started yelling it first. I got this from Cleveland State as well, but I yell, "It's a great day to be a Mustang." And, you know, while the kids are clapping, and at first it had to catch on, because they were looking at me like, who is this nut? And you know what I mean? This guy he's yelling, he's sweating already. We just walked in the gym, and, you know, what's up? Like, what's up with him? I know a lot of them said that. So, you know, I just would every day yell at, "It's a great day to be a Mustang. It's a great day to be a Mustang," right before we break down. And before I knew it, you know, I had one kid do it. You know, he surprised me, because we were clapping, and right when I was getting ready to say it's a great day to be a Mustang, here he goes yelling at the top of his lungs, "It's a great day to be a Mustang."
Hey, that's great.
You know, so I was, yeah, this is catching on. So, you know, after a few more days of it, now there's two kids. One kid would say it, then another kid would say it, you know, and it's, oh my God, it turned into it gave me chills, it gave me goosebumps. So now when we start practice, that's a huge part of our practice. You know, we start that, and that's how we kind of get the energy going. And, you know, I have 3 or 4 kids. They take turns. Sometimes they kind of jump on each other, you know, vocally trying to be the person to yell, "It's a great day to be a Mustang," you know? So that part of the energy, just being, showing them, you know, a different side of myself. You know, you can come in and be that serious coach, and, you know, let's get down to business, and let's work. But I think that your kids mimic what they see in you. And if you show that you're open to not embarrassment, but some of them I'm sure laughed at me the first day I got out there and yelled, "It's a great day to be a Mustang." They're like, "Man, you just became a Mustang. How do you know?" So, it was an opportunity, like I said, just to show that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm going to bring this energy in, and this is how I attack this thing every day. So it was infectious, and it just caught on. So that, I think, is primarily my biggest thing when it comes to energy, is leading by example. So like I said, just being prepared, putting energy into every day, putting energy into my practice. I'm the guy that's, going to be loud, running around, hyping kids up, telling my players what a great job they've done, even if it's the smallest thing. I'm letting them know that I'm so proud of the growth that they're making and the steps that they're taking to be, a better player, because that allows me to be a better coach. That way I know that the things that I'm showing them and the things that I'm doing are working. And like I said, that just spread throughout the program. So now, it's 8:38 and 8:29, I'm sorry. And throughout everything I did to get here for this podcast, I didn't say it, but I was actually opening up my gym, and I have kids in the gym right now that are shooting, and you know what I mean? So it worked. I mean, these kids believe in me, and heck, they're not afraid to be crazy because they're coach crazy. And I mean, crazy in a good way. You know what I mean? Crazy about the game.
Putting themselves out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, putting themselves out there. No,
Absolutely.
for sure. So I'm curious now how that, like, I'm going to kind of shift kind of the order of the questions I was asking, because I think this kind of naturally leads then to me thinking, Coach, about, so what does that now kind of look like on the court? So you're pouring in, obviously, your energy, your effort, your enthusiasm. You're pouring it into your guys. Guys are starting to, really feed off that energy, kind of building off of that, taking some of that and using it. But now, what is that going to kind of look like? How does that translate to what it is that you and your guys are doing on the court now?
Well, I think that energy just naturally the effort, and it's 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 so funny because the kids, if you ever hear kids talk and amongst each other, they call each other sometimes tryhards, and I know what that meant first. I mean, and it, try hard. What does that mean? So after being around them for a while, they would say that to the guy that's, like putting forth he's just going as hard as he can hard. And it was almost a negative connotation between the kids at first. Like, man, you need to relax a little bit. You're trying too hard. But now I think that has kind of transformed itself into the goal. We want to be, we want to be, we want to be try hards. We want to give our effort and our most to every day. So that kind of transformed into something different when it's going for a loose ball, when it's just a shooting drill, or when we're doing our Kobe defense. We're not going through the motions, trying our hardest. We're giving everything that we possibly in order to make it better that day. And the energy that kind of it leads, like I said, to the end result of the effort that they put on the court, and the effort that they put towards learning, and the effort that they put towards, being a better basketball player. So it's it's a it's a goal that they try to achieve, and whatever it looks like during the day, whatever drills we're doing, whatever we're learning as far as in the film room, we're paying that much more attention, because that's the effort and the energy that we're bringing is towards learning that day, or towards getting better, or towards learning our opponent's offense. You know what I mean? It's the things that, like I said, it's the minute details that some people wouldn't give that much effort to. You know what I mean? If it's getting on 2 feet, well, man, I'll just get into the paint, and as long as I get there, no, I need to be on 2 feet, ready to pivot, turn, find headlights, tail lights, whatever it takes. And that effort now is fueled by that energy that I've given to them, and now that's pushing them, and it just makes a better team. And like I said, it's infectious. Everyone wants to be better. No one is afraid to give their all, because no one is afraid to fail.
Yeah,
That started
and that's big. That's big,
yeah.
because and I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but guys, especially, I think girls to an extent too, but guys are, very self-conscious, and they don't want to make mistakes, and they don't want to, look like silly out there, or whatever. So to be in an environment where they know that they can try and go out of their comfort zone, and if they fail or don't succeed at something, it's okay. And just that them putting themselves out there to try something out of their comfort zone, that itself might be getting rewarded or encouraged. I think that that's really powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So, how do you balance, Coach? You kind of talked about this a bit, so you kind of started with your answer, but I want to make sure I ask you kind of formally about how you as a coach balance an environment that's really challenging to your guys and really pushing your guys, but also keeping things positive and keeping the high, enthusiasm up, so guys, aren't getting down or getting discouraged or everything. How do you kind of balance making sure that you're pushing your guys, challenging them, putting them in those situations where they're going to struggle and they're going to go through some difficulties, but also at the same time where things are still positive and the enthusiasm level is still pretty high?
I think it goes back to, once again, not being afraid to make mistakes, because I laugh because I said this to my kids before. If you guys were perfect, I wouldn't have a job. They wouldn't need me. They just give you the jerseys, you can go out and play. So, they understand that there are things that they can learn and they can do to get better. And I almost encourage making mistakes. That's one of the biggest and best parts of basketball, because that's when you learn exactly what you are and what you need to do to be better, or to get yourself to that next level. Once you start to embrace your mistakes, you grow. It's one thing, and I think that I even suffered from this as a player. You sometimes go in and practice what you're good at because it makes you feel good.
Makes you feel good, yeah.
Yeah, I called myself, I would say I was a shooter, because I was probably worse at everything else than shooting, but that was one of the things that I pushed my game as far as I could with. I would go in the gym and just shoot, 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 when I should have been working on my right hand, when I should have been working on, balance and learning different things, or ball handling, because that would have made me a better player. But just staying in that comfort zone of shooting kind of, I think, stopped me from growing to where I could have been. And that's what I want them to stay away from. And that's why I said the energy and the effort and the yelling and the screaming and having the crazy loud practice and everything going on, it it covers the embarrassment of, man, I may not look as good as someone else, dribbling the ball with my offhand. And not being afraid to make those mistakes gives you room, and it almost plants the seed, or if you will, waters the seed of growth, because we then start to, like I said, embrace those mistakes, and notice, hey, if I do this after about 5 or 6 times, hey man, it's a little bit easier now. Now the next day we come in and I'm a little bit better at doing it. My offhand, I can actually handle the ball better with my
Handle a little bit
offhand.
better, yeah.
Yeah, and it just works. So I think that the environment here at Maple Heights now was one that is conducive to learning yourself, learning your truest self. And that takes it's hard, because coming in, even as a freshman, some of my guys are learning this now. And I think that those are the ones that don't want to be embarrassed the most, because it's a new situation. It's high school. I'm just fresh out the 8th grade. I want to look good in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But I think that my older guys, like I said, I have a team of 12 seniors here. They've embraced it. They've caught on, and it's, once again, I use the word, it's infectious. It's spread down to my younger guys, where they're trying different things that they probably have never even thought about trying, because they know that no one's going to laugh at them before, because they haven't done this before. No one's going to make fun of them because they blow a left hand layup. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's an environment that's, it's all right to make a mistake. We don't get mad at mistakes here. We get mad when you get mad at yourself about making mistakes and you don't get back on defense, or you're upset because you're afraid to try something, or you try something that didn't work and now you put your head down. That's when we get upset. That's because you don't believe in yourself. And like I said, you're not perfect. The only way that you can, try to get as close as you can to perfection is by doing the things that are out of your comfort zone. So
Yeah, and I think to your point too, especially about your, I was just thinking about, your guys, who are willing to, make those mistakes and they're willing to get, uncomfortable. I think that's also, you know, maybe something that they aren't necessarily like used to, like you said, because that they feel that there's going to be just an immediate consequence for not doing something right or doing something well. And I'm sure as all players are, they want to be on the court, they want to play, they don't want to get pulled for a mistake that they make. But like you said, right, then you have guys who might just be working on the things that they're good at, and not really working on the things they're not as strong at, because they're worried about making those mistakes, or worried about not doing something correct and having to run or be pulled for something like that. So I think, as you kind of talked about, kind of the way that you kind of frame those mistakes, right? Like, mistakes are an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn. And it seems like your guys are, in an environment where they feel that, as long as the effort is there and as long as they're still working, that like mistakes are just part of the game, sort of thing.
Absolutely. Basketball is a beautiful game, but it's a game of mistakes. And it's
Yeah.
ultimately, I think that the ones or the teams that win are the teams that make the least amount of mistakes, but no team has ever shot perfectly from the field in the game. You know what I mean? I've never seen it. If it has, I never saw that tape. Please show it to me. I'd love to see
Yeah.
it. But no, you may get a game with 0 turnovers, but that's something that's few and far between. It doesn't happen a lot. But like I said, those kids that are willing to, even though I made this mistake, even though I've turned the ball over, I'm not going to put my head down and look at the bench and his coach going to sub me. My kids don't fear that. They know that, let me bust my butt to get back on defense and be the first person to stop that fast break because I turned the ball over, or to get back in. If I missed the shot, it's okay. I can get back in. I'll get another opportunity. My teammates believe in me, and if we run this set the right way, and I end up being the guy that's open because the defense, made this read, and now here the ball's in my hands, I'm not afraid to miss that shot. It's okay because my guys support me, and not being afraid to miss that shot, to me, ultimately, it leads to more made shots because your confidence is up. It's almost natural. You're not worrying about what's going to happen, after you miss. You're not even thinking. You're just shooting. You're playing the game, and that's when basketball to me is beautiful. That's when you learn also things that maybe you didn't even know that you could possibly do, because you're not limiting yourself to the things that you're just good at. You might find something else that you're good at because you're going outside of your comfort zone, and no one showed you this. So my kids take heed to that. They've taken it to heart, and they really are just open to things, and it's a great situation every day in practice.
Yeah, no, and it sounds like your guys are, I think there's so much to be said for, a team that's really like open-minded, and a team that's like really like listening and dialed in and locked in, and they're taking in everything. They're working on things. They're really focused. They're encouraging each other, and it sounds like, and I can let you speak a little bit more onto this as well, but like, there's a big emphasis, it seems like, on your program, is really, expanding your guys' skill set, teaching them, the things that they need to know about the game, and with that, showing them how to, do all of these things, and learn and expand your skill set and expand your game, while also maintaining that high energy and high effort at the same time. So there's a lot of learning going on, and also that emphasis on just how much effort needs to be put in every day.
Absolutely. It goes also to the classroom. If those guys are in the classroom and they're
Hmm.
they're learning, and when they're in school, they're not afraid to raise their hand and talk to teachers and ask questions, because that's when you get the most help. If a teacher, and I say this to my guys all the time, if the teacher doesn't hear from you, if they don't know who you are, then how can they know how to help you? You know what I mean? If you just sit in the back of the class and, yeah, you may take notes and you may not get in trouble, but that's not what I want. I don't want you to get in trouble. Don't let me mistake and say that. I want you to ask questions. I want you to be okay with showing that, hey, this is something I've never heard of before, Miss whatever. You know what I mean? Can you please
Uh-huh.
expand upon that? And then that comes into basketball. If that was one of the first things that I taught my guys, the spots on the floor. If I and my if you will, my ways, or our vocabulary may be different from some other coaches, but when listening to podcasts like yours and listening to others and studying the game, you have certain things that are just shared amongst people. So, but sometimes the kids don't know that. So when I say, hey, get on
Hmm.
the 45, and I want you to backdoor from the 45, something like that, and they're like, wait, coach, we never heard of that. What is that? And that's where I want them to be okay with saying, coach, I've never heard of that. Can you teach me the difference between the
Hold up,
spot and the
back up a little
45?
bit, right?
Yeah, and they're okay with that. So even if we're running a play, some kids will just kind of go to the right spot or, hey, let me find an open spot on the floor because I don't know where I'm going. But my guys will stop and say, hey, coach, I don't know what I'm doing. I forgot. And it's okay. Well, that's cool. Let me show you. And like I said, that just leads to, if one person sees it, then the next person says, well, he didn't get on him about not knowing the play as well. Now, I'm not telling them it's okay to not know plays. You have to learn where you're supposed to be, but it's also a feel for the game. And if you're okay with, like I said, stopping the play and asking me, hey, coach, what is the thought process here? What am I looking for? What should I be trying to, do to get an advantage here? Because we all know plays are just opportunities to create the domino effect. You know what I mean? It's funny. I said this to my kids before. I said, and I heard this on a different podcast. He made the analogy of walking into an Apple, and he said, if you're looking for a new phone, right, and they were offering you a new iPhone, every 30 seconds, a salesperson would come to you with a different iPhone. You don't know what iPhone it is, but you're going to get a different iPhone. They said if they come up to you in the first 30 seconds with an iPhone 16 and say, hey, this is the best phone we have, are you going to take it? And yeah, you're going to take it, of course, because it doesn't get better than that. So that's the same thing I teach with offense and with reading and being okay to kind of make these mistakes and be willing to try different things, even if it leads to a mistake, because you may get an iPhone 16. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the best shot that you can take. And that's what I relate to the iPhone 16. If the defense in the first 30 seconds or in the first, part of this play gives you an opportunity to get a layup or a wide open jump shot, take it. You don't have to run the play all 8.
Yeah.
16 or getting that great shot. You don't need, I mean, just a little bit of, like I said, players and saying, oh, this was the best read, and the next it'll be better. And like I said, that just allows them to grow as players. So, yeah, it's I do things a little bit differently, but not much. I think you explained it perfectly when it's an open environment. Kids feel free here.
Yeah, and that's going to lead to, hopefully, and I know, right, that it's going to lead to, them finding new things about their basketball knowledge, basketball skills, stuff that they, weren't doing before, didn't even know they were possible, which is something I know that you mentioned before. Coach, I know that with being a coach who puts a lot of effort in, one of the things that when you're putting a lot of effort in, you really can get into working on those finer details of the game, those little things that kind of separate, a basket from not a basket, or a defensive stop from not a defensive stop, or just those little things that, throughout the course of a game, all those little things become pretty big things. And so I know that's big on the effort column for us as coaches, is to always find ways to just get a little bit better at those finer details. So I'm just curious for you, Coach, about your process of improving as a coach, and how you kind of go through the process of kind of picking up on those finer details. And then also with that, how you're also kind of teaching those details to your players as well.
I think the same thing goes for me with not being afraid to make mistakes, not being afraid to introduce something new and try it with my players, and even listening to them. I've said it to them several times that you're the one playing the game. I put you in the right position, but you may notice something that a player is doing or an opportunity that you have. And if that is something that you bring to me, I'm not going to just shoot your idea down. Even if it's a drill, if it's a, hey, coach, I saw this play and, I think we should try it. We may not run it in the game, but, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to, kind of research and study what it is. And if I can turn it into something and make it my own, heck, it might be added to our, our playbook. Who knows? Or it may be something that we can throw in as an ATO. But I think that just, once again, the effort part comes into play with this because I study my craft. I'm a huge, huge, huge student of the game. I've always been, and this even goes back to the days, I don't know if you remember this, but back when you would watch ESPN, let's say in the early 2000s, they would play Sports Center. They didn't have all the shows, the Pat McAfee show, and you know what I mean, First Take and all that stuff. It wasn't
A
around.
little
Then.
different.
It was just Sports Center. Yeah, it was just Sports Center 50 times in a row. They would play the same Sports Center over and over again, and I would watch that, because I was not just watching the highlights, but I was, studying the game and studying the language and the way that these people just went about presenting these things. So it was easily transferable to me as a coach now, because I can sit back and I can watch, other people coach, and I can watch other people teach, their teams things, and I can listen to podcasts like yours and listen to 5 episodes in a row, because it's the attention to detail. It's knowing that I don't know everything as a coach, and there are things that I can learn, from guys like you that are taking the time and providing these platforms in order for coaches like myself to take themselves to the next level. And as a testament to my growth, I think that, I have to thank guys like you, because this is why I'm at the place where I'm at now. Because if it wasn't for platforms like yours and coaches like yourself that have these conversations and that put these things out here for other people to learn from, we would all be stagnant. You know what I mean? Everybody has to learn something from somebody. There are a few ideas that were original, and some of us are great. You have to give credit where it's due. Some people invent things. Like I've seen certain defenses that man, where did you think of that? And how did you come up with that? But we take that and then we make it our own. And like I said, that comes from coaches like yourself, because you take the time and study these things and find coaches that are doing things that are great for the game and doing things a little bit differently, and have these conversations. You ask the right questions, and it just provides an endless opportunity for us to continue to be better at our craft. It's being open to listening to guys, even if it's a Division III coach, at some college somewhere. Heck, you don't know what that guy is teaching, and that may be transferable to a D1 coach. He may take something that he learned, even though different in levels, and people would say, coach, he should be teaching. No, the guy to learning something, he doesn't know who it comes from. And I think that also goes back to, a saying that my mother would tell me: you treat the janitor with the same respect that you treat the CEO. And that is something that has always, stayed in my mind, because I'm willing to learn from anybody. And even if it's what not to do, you know what I mean? I'm willing to learn from anybody. So, I'm open, I'm a listener. And once again, just the opportunities that you provide, man, I'm so grateful for, because it just allows us to learn and be better every day.
And I appreciate that, coach. And just as a quick aside as well, I mean, all the guests who I've had who are willing to share, I think, and longtime listeners are probably getting ready to roll their eyes a little bit and laugh a little bit, because I say this all the time, but I just think that the basketball coaching community is the most giving and the most open, and I think that we are the most uh, able to willingly share with one another ideas, our thoughts, and help each other get better. And I just love just so many coaches who I've talked to, and I'm sure so many who you've talked to, who will be open books about the things they like to do and the things they like to run and the things that they think, work best in practice planning or in game execution. Because I think that, we as coaches, especially in the basketball community, just want all of our players to get better. And if we can help each other out in that way and put kids rather in a position to be successful, I just love how willing we are to have these conversations and share our knowledge. I think it just makes all of us and our players better.
Absolutely. And I have to give a shout out to, just to piggyback on what you said. It was a situation. I was at Gold Camp, and like I said, everything was going great. And this coach walks in because I did the girls camp was 2 days and the boys camp was 2 days. So girls camp was Thursday and Friday, I think, and the boys was Saturday and Sunday, right? So Saturday morning, this coach walks in the gym, and the kids use the word aura a lot. You know what I mean? They say, man, you have an aura. So this guy walks into the gym, and I mean it, his aura was just, you could just tell something was different about this guy. I'd never seen him before in my life. And when he was introduced. His name is Ty Ellis. He was introduced. He was a former G League coach. He coached. He was the coach for the affiliate for the Sacramento Kings. I forget their name right now. Forgive me, but he taught defense in a way that the way that he broke it down, it was jaw dropping. I had never ever seen anything like this. And once again, me being that guy that's kind of crazy, I'm not afraid to talk to anyone. I think that's one of my strengths. after he, gave his clinic in the gold camp, I said, Coach, I need your information, please, because what you taught, I have never seen anyone break the game down like this on defense, and I need to know more. And this guy, like I said, he was a G League coach. He's worked with Stan Van Gundy. He's worked with, some of the best coaches and NBA coach, NBA assistant for years. I mean, this guy did not have to say, yeah, man, here's my phone number, but he did. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. 3 weeks ago, we got on a Zoom call with he and three of my assistant coaches, and he taught us his defense, his the way that he teaches defense. He went through, didn't charge us a penny, he just was all about teaching the game and wanted to share this knowledge. And it made us better coaches. And then, like I said, I'm giving him a shout out because I'm on Instagram 2 days ago. Well, not 2 days ago, a few days ago rather. And he just got hired as one of the lead assistants for the Las Vegas Aces. So he is like, this is a great guy. Like, he really knows what he's doing. And for Becky Hammond to hire him and like bring him on, he really has to be about business. So it just really, it's jaw dropping, because basketball, like you said, is a game that when you're not afraid to make mistakes and embarrass yourself in front of people and ask questions and raise your hand and, hey, can I get some help? It's the possibilities are endless. That's the one thing. This game is a vessel, and it allows you to create different opportunities in life and meet different people that you probably would have never ever imagined you would get the opportunity to. So I can actually say now, in my little Rolodex and my phone contact list, I can call up the assistant coach for the Las Vegas Aces and say, hey, man, I need some help. I got my butt kicked last night. My defense was not right. What can I do? And, he's going to answer. Like I said, his name is Ty Ellis. I really have to give him credit, because between him, Coach Show, once again, I'll give him his due credit, Coach Ansbury and Coach Rashad, who got me into this thing, and with him starting and him the most. If I wouldn't have asked these questions and been willing to raise my hand and be that guy that's a little bit embarrassed, and God forbid, I'm sorry, Coach Robinson from Cleveland State, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's what I teach to my kids. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there in a positive way, because it's growth, and you never know what could come from it.
Oh, no, I love that. I appreciate you sharing that, Coach. A couple more questions, Coach, I want to ask for hit our concluding segment. And I'm just curious on your personal coaching philosophy. We talk, we've had a great chat about energy and effort and some of these things that can't be necessarily tracked or put stats on, but energy and effort does have its way of showing up on a stat sheet at the end of the game. And I'm curious for you, when you're maybe looking at stats, you're looking at a box score, and you're looking at the things that are happening after a game, what are some indicators to you personally as a coach that let you know on that score line or on that stat line that the energy and effort was either where you wanted it to be or where it wasn't? What are those things that you're kind of tracking and keeping an eye on?
Well, we do track. We track kills, of course, and every coach does this. The 3 stops in a row. We track. We also, one of the things that we're tracking this year is if you turn the ball over, how many times you are the first person back. And I know this sounds crazy, but I say first person back because I'm a huge component of that. Like I said, I don't care about the mistake. I care about you trying to fix the mistake. So I always go over that with my kids, and even in my JV kids, and they've seen me do it. It's when we watch film, I'll slow down and rewind and show your effort in getting back on defense after the turnover more than I'll talk about what you did to turn the ball over. Because I don't mind you being creative, or I don't mind you taking a chance to maybe throw some pass. Now, sometimes there are god-awful mistakes, and I will say, hey, don't do that again. You know what I mean? But there are opportunities to learn from things when you were just trying to be creative and you were trying to make a play. I don't think that any kid turns the ball over on purpose. You know what I mean? That's not what they're doing. That was not their goal. We're trying to do something, and it didn't work out. So those get the last one things that I track, I call myself a palms down coach. And a lot of people are like, what? You know, if you've ever watched the game, when a kid makes a mistake, the first thing they do, or they don't understand something or something, they go away, they kind of put their thumbs up, like their hands go up, and it's just like, well, and they smack their lips, you know, man, I don't know. And I hate that. That's the one thing that will get you subbed out of a game. And I track those because I say I want palms down instead of palms up players. Palms down guys are guys that, you know, if you ever see LeBron do his little, I don't even know what he calls it, but his little strut when at the end of the game or at the end of the quarter, once he makes that big shot and the other team takes a timeout, he does the whole smacking on his chest, and then he pushes the ground down. That comes down the pound moment. That's showing not only the other team, but that's showing your coach, that's showing your other mates that, hey man, I got this. Hold on, like just wait. We're gonna push that energy down. I'm in control of the situation, as opposed to a pump like, no, just what's you know what I mean? And that to me is one of the biggest things that I track, because I wish we were on video, because I would show you, you know, how many kids do it. Their hands go up like, coach, I don't know. Oh man, I made a mistake. And I track those. If you get in a film session, I will break that down and say, look, palms up. You know, look at you. Your palms are up. You're questioning yourself. You're questioning my decision. You're questioning the choice that you made, instead of saying, you know what, hold on, I got this. Pushing that energy down and saying, hey, listen, I got this. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. And I think that those things, once again, my team has kind of acknowledged that and grown from that, and said, I'm gonna try it. Let me just try it. We'll deal with the results after, but I'm gonna try it. So
No, that's awesome. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I love it. I love, you know, those when you have those stats, and not only, you know, those stats that are really important to you, but when your guys, you know, or your girls in particular, in my case, like just know how much those are meaningful. You know, for us, like when we track things like charges and stuff like that, when we see that,
absolutely.
just like the whole bench jumps up, right? Everybody knows,
Yes.
you know, just how much that matters and how much of a big momentum that change that was. Or, you know, you brought up this story about, you know, what happens on a turnover. I was just thinking to a game that we played, a scrimmage, our preseason scrimmage last week. We had a girl, you know, kind of a loose ball turnover, first one down on the court though, on a chase down block though, you know, stuff like that, that just, you
Yeah,
know, everyone just gets fired up for. So yeah, I mean, that's goosebumps right now thinking about that type of stuff. That's awesome.
absolutely. Yes, sir.
Last question, Coach, before we hit our concluding segment, because man, this has been great how quick this hour's flying by. I haven't asked specifically, so I was curious. I know our guests are probably curious about what is kind of a practice plan for you? What is the, you know, kind of you're a high energy guy, high effort guy, so I imagine your practices must look, you know, pretty high effort, high energy, a lot of things going on. Kind of walk us through, you know, what a typical, if there is such a thing, but what a typical practice for you kind of looks like at Maple Heights with your guys.
I break my practice down into 3 segments, kind of defense, offense, and one is just skill building. And the skill building portion is kind of where, you know, I set the tempo and the energy is kind of brought in. That's when we go through our full court layups. That's when we go through, and it starts with, like I said, we don't do regular stretching. Everyone does the same thing. We have a clap, we have a cadence that we have to, you know, keep up with. And if we don't do it right, we start over. And it's, like I said, the music's blasting and it's loud, and I'm loud and I'm running around, and, you know, I'm yelling, you know, let's go. And, you know, it's just from the jump. When they walk in the gym, they're going to see me sweat. They're going to see me, you know, loud. And I don't coach with a whistle. A lot of coaches look at me crazy when I say that, but I said, no, I don't have a whistle. Because I don't have a whistle in game, I can't blow a whistle and say, hey, listen to me, we need to do this, you know, so you have to kind of hear my voice. So I make sure that my voice can be heard. So it starts with me being loud, and that's an instrumental part of my practice, you know, me being loud. And I have to be loud because, like I said, I have the music going, and just starting out, even with our dynamic warm-ups, you know, it's energy. I'm doing it with them. I'm running up and down the court doing Supermans, or, you know, lunges and things like that. So that immediately transfers into, like I said, our full court. If it's full court layups or our drills, usually that's what I bring about as the next thing, just kind of get the energy up. You know, I'm blessed, like I said, with these 12 seniors. I have a 6'8" guy who is amazing. And he's an athlete. So, you know, once he gets up and starts, you know, throwing down dunks and finishing, and it gets everybody pumped up, and the rest
Oh
of the
yeah.
kids are trying to dunk, and you know what I mean. It's
Oh yeah.
you know, I had some coaches, you know, I'll never forget. I won't go into detail about who it was, but a coach used to get mad when kids would dunk and miss, and he's like, "No, just practice the layup." And I would always question that. I'm like, "What? That no, don't do that, man. Like, let him try to dunk because it's building his confidence, and this is how you learn how to dunk in by doing in these drills and in motion. So even if he fails, it's okay. Like he's going to learn what to do next time, how to successfully get that dunk down. And I think that my practice, like I said, even from the beginning, with our layups, with our full court layups, with our defensive, the next thing would be our defensive segment. You know, we go right into Kobe defense. I knew that every day. And, you know, I break our guards up and do it with guards, and then our bigs do it with bigs, and then we may switch and kind of interchange because I feel like our bigs or our forwards rather have to check guards. You have to be able to guard whoever comes in front of you because we know how the game is transformed, and there are so many dribble handoffs and picks and different situations where teams are trying to find or exploit those little details or gain an advantage. And if I've never had, you know, my big man practice guarding the guard, how can I get mad at you when he blows by you? You know what I mean? So they work on that. The next portion would be, like I said, offense. And even if I'm installing, I don't really stop to teach every moment. I'll let them go, you know, down, up, down a few times, maybe at max, maybe 5 times, and then I'll stop and we'll kind of go over things. But I had a drill here recently where, you know, we were at a scrimmage and we were getting our butts kicked during the box out. So we came in the next day and we did a 3-on-3 drill where it was boxing out, but it was multi-layered because not only was it the box out, if defense got it, then they kicked it to a coach. And, you know, then the coach finds the next open person and then you're playing your own offense. But if offense got it, they just go back up and try to score. So that created a lot of energy, and it was just fun because they started moving out the ball and they started, you know, rebounding and boxing out better and just communicating more and being tough and physical. So that was, you know, something that I said, you know what, this is something that has to be at practice every day because it's teaching these guys, you know, so many skills at the same time that, and it's also very competitive. That's one thing I will say about Maple Heights. These guys hate to lose anything. And it almost gets to a point to where I would have to kind of like tone them down a little bit.
Dial it back.
Yeah, because practice would almost, you know, they would be ready to go to blows sometime because it's like, man, no, I don't want to lose. And, you know, the fouls and the stuff will start to come. And I'm like, listen, you can't practice that. You can't do that in the game. You're going to lose. So if you're going to practice fouling, you're practicing being a loser. And, you know, they would kind of look at me like, what, coach? That doesn't make any sense. And I said, listen, if you practice fouling, you're practicing putting the other team on the free throw line, which is giving them free opportunities. That's the best shot in basketball for some of us coaches is a free throw besides a wide open layup. If I can get an unchallenged shot, which is a free throw, nobody's bothering you. That, you know, that's kind of easy to make. So you're giving away points by fouling. Stop doing that. So, you know, that mindset kind of kicked in. And once I go to the learning portion of practice, I think that, or the install rather, with offense, that's kind of my slowest part of practice. That's kind of the part where, you know, we kind of, you know, may walk through some things, but even then it's still a great environment, and it's still a learning environment because coaches, I mean, the kids or the coaches say, hey, coach, what do you think about this slip here? What if this happens? And, but once again, not being afraid to raise your hand, you know, in the classroom and talk to the teacher. I welcome that because they may show me something that I didn't even think about. So, like I said, practice for me is just broken down into those 3 segments. It's always loud. It's always pumped up, and it's always, you know, let's get after it, man. I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself. I'm not afraid to give it my all. You know what I mean? So that's how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. And you know, I've been in a couple situations like you mentioned before. I've had players get real on each other and everything in practice. It's funny too, because sometimes, I mean, a lot of times it's like they're best friend too, and they're just, you know, they're in the heat of the moment, they're getting right after it on each other, and then it's like, well, you know, we settle things down a little bit and get back to it, but it's, you know, they're really competitive, and you know, I think there's something to be said for me at least as a coach to have to maybe dial my players back emotionally a little bit versus trying to bring them up. I'd always rather try and put them down a little bit than try and turn the knob up. So, you know,
Absolutely.
so we
Absolutely.
kind of work through that a little bit, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
kind of
yes.
work
I
through that.
agree. I
Coach,
agree.
to wrap up, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. So I'll go ahead and here and start with this first one, which is thinking back on your coaching career, what is a specific moment from your coaching career that you think by sharing that our listeners might be able to learn from?
Every summer when I would go on that list and look at the job openings, I was chasing a dream. And once I knew that this is something that I wanted to, give my all to, I would just say to all coaches, don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't think that just because you're a freshman coach today or, assistant or an eighth grade coach that you couldn't be something beyond your wildest dreams or imagine that you couldn't even imagine tomorrow. You never know. So I just would say that, always chase greatness. Always be willing to, try to raise the ceiling, if you will. Never be afraid to fail. And I think that was one of the things that allowed me to be in the position that I'm in now, is because I wasn't afraid. You know what I mean? Even though Lord knows I was not prepared, you know what I mean? But I had to make myself prepared. And that things happen in due time. Things happen in due time. And when you're called to that next level, if you really have given your all to this game and you really study the game and really, really truly are passionate about getting better and honing in on your craft, it allows you to, you'll look up and you'll be in a situation that you didn't know that you would be in, but as you fight through it, you just continue to learn and you continue to get better every day. And that's that's what it is to me. It's just, don't be afraid to get better. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Don't make those mistakes, because those mistakes will make you better if you learn from them.
No, yeah, that fearlessness, right? Doors don't get open unless you knock on them. That's kind of how,
Absolutely.
how that saying goes. No, I love it. I think that's such a great message. To wrap up, Coach, I give every guest kind of what I like to call the 60-second soapbox, but you can go over 60 seconds. I just like to put catchy titles to things, but I like to use it, Coach, as kind of a platform for you to get kind of like a final thought, a final idea, a closing message, just something that you would like to leave the listeners with. You can kind of take it any direction you want, basketball wise, coaching, or otherwise. It's your soapbox after all. So, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you one more time, and I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to interview, Coach. And I know that I always said I'm a bit long-winded. I talk a lot, but
Oh, good.
If I would say anything, it's to all coaches. I want the brotherhood to be strengthened, and there is a special type of person that it takes to be willing to do this, because it's long day, and we all know that we're not doing it for the money, because we give so much to this game that it's not even funny. You know what I mean? Especially those of us that do it for the right reason. We give so much of ourselves, we give so much of our time and our effort into pouring into these children, that sometimes other people might think we're crazy, and it's okay to be crazy. I also would say to coaches, find that balance, because in the balances, it's kind of also involving your family in your coaching, because a lot of one thing that I've heard from a lot of coaches, because it's so many long hours, like I said, you kind of take that away from your family. But if you can involve your family and involve, if they're willing to be a part of it, but if you can involve your children and your wife, and come home and talk to them about how practice was, and they at that point in time, kind of become interested in what's going on, and then it's not so much taken away from them, but they share the same thing that you find pleasure and joy in every day. And that's, like I said, building these young men up to be, future leaders in our communities, better basketball players, better men, and better women, on both sides of the game. So, um, if I, like I said, I just make that call to all coaches, continue to give your all. And once again, don't be afraid to strengthen this brotherhood, and teach somebody. If you see someone doing wrong, or you see somebody that doesn't know something, don't be afraid to, have a communication moment with that guy where they can learn from you, or don't attack them and make it seem as if or go talk behind their back and, talk to other coaches and, get into the gossiping thing. And let's not do that. Let's grow the game. Let's continue to just evolve as men, because we're really the ones who are deciding and dictating the future and where these young men will go. And if they see it in us that we're building a bond together and we're, strengthening our relationships amongst each other as coaches and not tearing each other down, I think that the same thing will kind of, be exhibited in their behavior. They'll learn how to, even if it's an opponent, how to help that guy up off the floor, how to, be there. And we all want to be competitors. We all want to win. We all want to, have more points than the other team at the end of the day. But once you're outside of those lines, we're still all human beings, and we're still all people who have to learn from each other and help each other out. So, let's be the best version of ourselves every day, and let's continue to listen to these platforms and get on these platforms such as yours, Coach, and help each other out. And like I said, just, it's going to sound corny, but we make the world a better place because people watch us. You know what I mean? We really do. Fans come to basketball games for a reason. It's entertainment, but it's also, a chance for us to be an example of teamwork, of togetherness, of, like I said, even in competition, doing the right thing. So let's, as coaches, just continue to push that. Let's continue to be role models for these young men, and let's continue to grow the game.
No, well said. What a great point to end that on, Coach. I truly appreciate you coming on here and sharing your incredible story, fearlessness and determination, and just having a great talk now afterwards about energy and effort and all the things that you're putting into Maple Heights. And I'm super excited, Coach, to kind of follow along with your season and your journey and see where you're able to take these guys. I think you got a real fun, interesting group with so many seniors, a lot of veteran leadership, and a lot of real good things that you got going under your way. So, Coach, I'm really looking forward to continuing to follow your journey, and definitely would love to have you back on here sometime soon and keep a conversation going. Coach Yates, appreciate it. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.